Why does Venom need to eat brains? Does he eat other things? How are ya, Marvelous fam? Today we've got for you the Venom Show. More specifically, Venom's need to eat brains. Marvel's coolest, toothiest villain turned anti-hero Venom has some peculiar taste, as we all know. Biting people's heads off and eating brains might be the ugliest, grossest craving on Earth. But it has long been a signature act from our favorite symbiote. Venom's desire for brains has been firmly established as his thing over his lifetime in the Marvel comics and the Venom movies. It's one of the quirks that make Venom the super interesting dark guy that he is. There are many instances of Venom eating brains, and believe it or not, there is a very valid reason for him doing so. Also, brains are not the only thing that Venom is interested in sampling either. Let's get into the video and explore Venom's brain-eating antics and the reason behind his peculiar craving. Let's go! Before we move on, we have a tiny request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you! Does comic Venom eat brains? The short answer is yes. Venom is the iconic Marvel anti-hero that recently appeared in the theaters in The Last Dance movie in 2024. The Last Dance was almost like a 90s movie with the fun, corny dialogue and big action, remixed with a modern-day CGI extravaganza and striking cinematography, and I absolutely loved it. Created by David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane, Venom was introduced as a slaughter-minded monster by Marvel in 1988. There was a small build-up when it came to Venom's first proper appearance, which came in Spider-Man number 300. In the comic, Venom and Eddie Brock, a journalist who had fallen from grace and blamed Spidey for it, both came through. Venom became Spider-Man's arch-enemy, and the rest is history. Venom quickly climbed the charts as the most popular villain among Spider-Man fans. But what made Venom so special? I think it was the unique symbiosis between a human and an enormously powerful alien that the character of Venom bonded with Eddie portrayed. And of course, he had some oddly revolting yet endearing habits. The relationship between Eddie and the Venom symbiote, two creatures coming from faraway corners of the universe, was atypical and distinct from anything the comic book world had ever flung our way. It's a friendship between two imperfect beings that struggle for power and control, love and chaos within one body, giving us a perfectly entertaining character with wit, nuance, and some awesome beatdown skills. I mean, what's not to love, right? The Tom Hardy movies did a pretty good job too, didn't they? These films also accommodated Venom's unusual eating habit from the comics. In fact, they raised it to another level. The head-biting thing has become synonymous with Venom now, so much so that I expect to see it in every movie. But how did this alien who initially swathed himself in a black Spidey suit get here? What is it about people's mushy brains that he simply can't resist? When did he start eating them? Let's get into Venom's taste for the blubbery and eeky next. Venom eating brains, in comics and movies. I cannot live on chicken and chocolate alone. I need brains, enunciated Venom to Eddie in Let There Be Carnage. A pert reminder to the fans and viewers about their favorite alien hero's surreal appetite. But there was a time when Venom was not as much an anti-hero, but an out-and-out villain who wanted Spider-Man's blood, and brains of course. Venom's need for brains dates back to the pages of the comic Amazing Spider-Man number 333 in 1990. He was fighting with Spider-Man quite a lot around this time. But for some reason, the revolting hankering for brains line had a great impact on the fans. It leveled up Venom's already strong villain cred, so much so that it made it into the Venom merchandise. In the early 90s, the Venom action figures were also known to say, "They want to eat your brain." But the comic art did not actually show Venom eating anybody's brains. Not until Venom the Hunger #1. This 1996 series had Venom talking about eating people's brains and biting their heads off. Like, a lot. He calls the brain thing like Jell-O, equating them to real food, which implies that the guy really does find brains delicious. Venom legit eats a guy's brain in the story too, but the comics could never bring themselves to show such a gruesome incident. So we watch Venom walk up to poor Frankie, sniffing him out and all, hungering for his brains. And then, another guy who's watching him from the back notes in horror that Venom has devoured Frankie's brains. Well, in all fairness, Frankie was a lowlife. We also discover the reason behind Venom's head-biting action in the comics. Turns out, this disgusting trait is a need, not a fancy for Venom. We'll get to that soon. In the movies, Venom biting people's heads off has been a thing from the start, and we see him do it even when he takes on Anne Weying, Eddie's ex-girlfriend's body, making her a she-Venom. Now, I'm presuming here that the reason Venom's choicest form of attack is to bite people's heads off is because of his penchant for brains. Two birds with one stone. So our man is punishing the bad guys trying to hurt Eddie as she-Venom, while also sampling their brain flavor. Yummy, right? The 3 Tom Hardy films have shown enough head-biting, from the robber at Mrs. Chun's store to dog dealers in The Last Dance. By the way, I know it's just me, but Venom saying "Hola, bitches" in that auto-tuned voice to the dog-dealing guys was the only off-putting thing in that whole action scene. Yes, I know you guys love it. It's most definitely just me. Venom bit those boys' heads off nice and good though. As always, a singular bite per head. Venom is so quick and efficient with it. But why does our man lust for brains? Here's the dish. Why does Venom desire brains? The explanation for Venom's brain craving is also established in the comics. He needs to eat brains because a human brain has a chemical called phenethylamine. This chemical is a stimulant for the human nervous system. When Venom is amalgamated with Eddie Brock, he would consume some of it from him, but he needs much more, which is why there's a time he separates from Eddie in the comics and the movies. This is also the reason Eddie is always feeding Venom chocolates. It appears that chocolates don't just make humans feel good, but some few symbiotes too. It's the dopamine eating chocolate releases that does it for us. It's also what does it for Venom. It appears that phenethylamine is an activity enhancer for neurotransmitters, such as serotonin and dopamine, so it helps pacify Venom's craving to a certain extent. But when Venom bonds with Mac Gargan in the comics, who's a super bad guy, he and Venom go on a people-eating spree. In the Sinister Spider-Man series, Gargan is pretending to be Spider-Man biting people's limbs off, eating squirrels for some reason, and doing all sorts of grim stuff. So it isn't just brains that Venom wants to eat. He would happily go on a violent rampage if he had a bad host. Even in the movies, we see him remark, "Eyes, lungs, pancreas, so many snacks, so little time." He often gets heated up and talks about tearing people's limbs off, but I think that's just his rage and adrenaline talking. How Venom behaves depends largely on who he has bonded with. If it's a bad guy whose body he's sharing, he's bound to be more violent. With Eddie, he's his best self. But still, all that stuff has nothing to do with the brain-eating thing, which is more like a compulsion for him. One thing is for sure, the Venom movies, and I mean the Tom Hardy ones, not that crazy Spider-Man 3 movie stint, which did not do Venom justice at all, have adapted Venom, his traits and look from the source material extremely well. And that includes his brain-craving tick. This is one of the reasons why these Venom adaptations have quickly become so iconic, even without a Spider-Man in sight. Marvelous verdict. If I'm being honest, it's super satisfying to watch Venom do away with the bad guys' heads. I mean, it's part of the reason I click on the movie's thumbnail. It's violent for sure, but it's also dramatic and unique, which is just up the Venom alley. Eddie Brock's transformation into the repulsively magnificent Venom has left an indelible mark on comic culture, and Tom Hardy just stepped in and elevated the whole thing by doing the most awesome version of Venom's best bonding buddy, Eddie Brock. I just wish there was more of the Hardy Venom movies to come. Anyway guys, that's all from us on Venom and his gooey treats. Let us know in the comments what other content you'd like to see on Venom or the broader Marvel world. If you like this video, please smash the like button and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Bye for now, take care!